It's week 4, lesson 2, and this is maybe the most important lesson we're going to have all semester. That's just Mrs. Terrell's opinion, but anyway, we're going to talk about ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. I believe these words are vocabulary terms that are listed in chapter 2, but they apply to everything that we're going to study from this day forward. And actually, this is a lesson that would really be helpful for you to carry this knowledge, not just from our sociology class right now until the end of the semester, but from this semester into your future life with you, because I think, in my opinion, IMO, in my opinion, it will just really be helpful for you to understand life and understand cultural differences and diversity and tolerance as we move forward, okay? So, ethnocentrism and cultural relativism are key concepts that social science classes in particular are going to ask you to learn about. Ethnocentrism is the tendency that we all develop over the course of our lifetime, and that tendency is one toward judgment of other cultures that have different norms, different values, different languages, different religions, beliefs, etc., customs, traditions, anything that's different from us. We have a tendency to judge those differences using our own culture as the measuring stick. So think about a ruler with 12 inches in it. If our culture is a ruler and we measure other people's culture, which, remember, it includes all of those components of culture we talked about in chapter 3, or not chapter 3, week 3. If we judge other people's ways, folk ways, mores, laws, religion, symbols, customs, traditions, holidays, language, etc., if we judge others that are different from us using ourselves as the standard, that is called ethnocentrism. Now, wait a minute. Some of you right now are thinking, oh, I don't do that. No, that's not me. No problem with me. However, we all do that. You might be a very enlightened person. I am honored to know you. However, we all do that. If there is a food that you have never tried because you say, ew, that's ucky, or whatever, I don't know how YouTube captioning is going to spell the word ucky. But anyway, if you have ever refused to try something because you think it's gross, that's an ethnocentric response. Now, I don't think anybody would say that that's a negative ethnocentric response. However, it's an ethnocentric response. The problem with ethnocentrism is when we look at bigger issues that make one culture different from another culture, and if your culture has enough muscle, has enough power, has enough military, has another diplomatic negotiation power or voice in the political system, and you use that to force me and my culture to change my ways to fit your idea of what is correct or right or just or proper, fill in the blank with whatever kind of adjective you want to put in there. If you have enough muscle to force me to go along with your ideas, that's when ethnocentrism can be a problem. It's a major problem that a lot of our lawmakers, if you want to ask little old Mrs. T, community college teacher, a lot of our lawmakers could really benefit by stepping back and examining whether some of the legislation and the policies that they put forth have really a narrow-minded point of view that perhaps is only taking into consideration one particular cultural viewpoint in a society as diverse as the USA. Or one country to the next, if, for instance, democracy is highly valued in the United States, but other countries have a monarchy or a dictatorship or other kinds of forms of government that you will study in your other college classes, if the United States says, that's not right, we're going to give you democracy, but give actually means we're going to send the military there and reorganize your structure whether you want us to or not, is that an ethnocentric response? I'm asking you. I'm not saying it is. But let's look at ethnocentrism because it can have a negative side, such as I have enough muscle to force you to do what I think is right because I'm judging your actions and behaviors and traditions based on my actions and behaviors and traditions. And if you're different, I don't like it, and I'm going to make you do what I want. Not good. But ethnocentrism also has a very positive side, because ethnocentrism is the reason why we have loyalty to our country, to our subculture, to our society in general. If you like your society, which I do, I like it, I love it, okay? If you like it, where does that come from? Ethnocentrism. If you have a favorite football team, the Super Bowl is being played right now while I'm making this lecture. That loyalty to a football team is from ethnocentrism. If you have faith in a belief system, in a religion, if you have faith, and that is an important part of your social identity, that faith and the loyalty or allegiance to it comes from ethnocentrism. Without this, you would not have that connection and that deep cultural identity with your nation, with your family or kinship group, or even with your faith system. So ethnocentrism has a great side too, even though it has a negative side that I kind of started with. That was bad of me to start with the negative side, wasn't it? But anyway. Okay, so the cup is half full, not half empty. So let's look at cultural relativism. It's not really a cure for ethnocentrism, not really at all, but like ethnocentrism, it has a positive and a negative side. So cultural relativism is really a perspective. It's really a research tool that if you are trained in social science research, you must really, really force yourself to get good at cultural relativism because it can prevent you from being ethnocentric, or it can make you realize whether your ethnocentric tendencies are bubbling up so you can maybe step back and be more objective. So cultural relativism, it's a research technique or a point of view where instead of judging other cultures based on your culture's ways and habits and beliefs, you look at that society. What is its history? What's its belief system? What are its customs and traditions and norms, etc.? And based on that history, those norms, we value that culture in terms of that snapshot instead of comparing other cultures to it and making a judgment call, this culture's right and this culture's wrong. So cultural relativism helps us as social scientists and students of social science to not be judgmental when we experience diversity. So that's one of the reasons why sociology is on your degree plan, whether you are a culinary major, a social work major, a biology major. Sociology is one of the degree plan options that's really promoted to you through the Advising Center because it really helps you understand to be tolerant, to identify biases that might be present in your behavior or your attitudes or your ideas, and to guard against that. Excuse me. So, cultural relativism also has its bad side. I started with the positive side of cultural relativism, like it's supposed to make you more tolerant and accepting. However, there's a line someplace, and I wish I was smart enough to tell you where that line is. I'm not smart enough to tell you where the line is with ethnocentrism either. I apologize. But I'm not smart enough to tell you where the line with cultural relativism is either, between it's a great thing and it's a negative thing. Because we can take cultural relativism too far. For instance, I have an extremely hard time taking the child sex trade in Thailand from a cultural relativism point of view. Please stop for a moment and do some research about the child sex trade in Thailand. It's sex tourism. You could type that in. I have a really hard time saying, well, their culture is so impoverished that parents have children intentionally to sell them or lease them out or do whatever and put them in a brothel so that they can earn income for the family when they're a 6-month-old child. Isn't that terrible? I'm sorry. Let me just say that's terrible. My ethnocentrism, I cannot control it now. Can't. my background, my ideas, my traditions, childhood is not something that allows for that kind of activity. Not just the childhood, but also like my religious background. You just don't do those behaviors. As far as criminal justice goes, child molestation and abuse is like one of the worst things that you do. If your fellow prisoners find out about it, like they will kill you and maybe not even be held accountable for it. I don't even know whether the guards would turn you in. I'm not sure. Because it's such a terrible thing, according to U.S. cultures and values, that when we look at this in other cultures, like we can't, like how we, I don't know, like I would be interested just to see what somebody's argument is in favor of it. I can't imagine, but human rights come into play here. So there's a whole lot of cultural habits and traditions and customs around the world. I threw a really horrible one at you. There are some that are just as bad in other societies other than the child sex tourism industry in Thailand, which you will read that it's illegal. But if the police don't enforce the laws, okay, I can't focus too much on it. And please don't focus your entire reaction paper just on that. If you do some research on it, please use that topic, if it particularly interests you, to reinforce the fact that culture is different from place to place. It changes over time. It's specific to a cultural group. Ethnocentrism, cultural relativism. Remember, write about all of these things in your reaction paper. You do need outside sources, so if you would like to use that one as one, please do. But don't make it about one social issue. Write your reaction paper in general about all of these topics, okay? So I threw a bad one at you. Sorry about that. But there is a line between the good side of this and the bad side of this, a line between the good side of this and the bad side of this, and I'm sorry I can't tell you where it is. I would really suspect or be suspicious of somebody who thinks that they can firmly tell you where that line is. But these are two concepts that you need to be really aware of, and you need to start guarding yourself against them. Even if you think you're the most enlightened person on the planet, I promise you there are some things that you're ethnocentric about. And, you know, we might or might not find them this semester, but you will find them throughout your life if you don't find them with Mrs. T. Okay, so I will see you again for another lecture very soon. Please text me with questions. Bye.